Guten Tag, eigentlich wollte ich gerade nur aufs Klo, jetzt hat mich hier Cineasten TV verhaftet und ich soll kurz sagen, Ladies and Gentlemen, jetzt geht's los. Die Pressekonferenz von Hateful Eight, der neue Film von Quentin Tarantino. 2 Daumen hoch von meiner Seite, mehr habe ich nicht.
Welcome the great Jennifer Jason Leigh. The legendary Kurt Russell. And 2-time Academy Award winner and living movie encyclopedia, Mr. Quentin Tarantino. Welcome, Jennifer, Kurt, and Quentin to Berlin. Great to have you here. I would like to know what it was like to be handcuffed to each other for the whole entire time of filming this movie, and especially how did the two of you get into the report of working together in that close space?
Well, at first I think we both sort of took it for granted that it was going to be quite easy. We didn't think it was going to be that big a deal to be cuffed together, and then we were cuffed together, and suddenly it was like, oh, this is much more complicated than we realized. Because obviously if he went this way, would get pulled that way and vice versa. But within 3 days, and this was, I found, kind of extraordinary, and it would be true for Daisy and John Ruth as well, within 3 days we were like an old married couple.
Yeah, actually the fact that she's not sitting next to Kurt, all right, is giving her angina right now.
I'm very anxious.
I think one of the things that's interesting about what Quentin did with the character of Daisy was he has John Ruth treat her exactly as he would a 6'6" man who's as every bit as bad as she is. She's a feral cat that he's bringing in, so he's not going to give her any quarter just because she's female. It was difficult in that. What Jennifer and I learned very quickly was that this being chained together was going to inform everything we did.
How would you sum up the journey, from writing the script, then it got leaked, then you had the read-through in LA, then you basically went out to Colorado and filmed it. How would you sum up this experience?
Well, people seem to keep, they talk about the script leaking and my decision to not make it for a while, and then I changed my mind and everything. And they kind of sound this like rogues gallery of hurdles that we had to get through. Like, for instance, the snow thing was just really kind of blown out of proportion. I mean, in one way, we maybe ended up staying in Colorado about a month longer than we probably had planned, but it made the movie 15 times better, so I'm actually glad that everything worked out the way it worked out. We really got the weather we were looking for, as you can see in the movie. We didn't have to piece it together. And frankly, it was just kind of better that we were out there for those first 2 months, and then by the time we left, we were happy to leave and be on a soundstage where we had a little bit more control. But I don't quite look at it as these series of obstacles that led to the movie being on the screen here in Berlin. I had the best time making this movie I've had since I did Kill Bill. But the one movie in particular shot in Ultra Panavision 70 that I really, really enjoyed watching, getting ready for this movie, along with It's a Mad, Mad, Mad World, was Battle of the Bulge, which I always really got a kick of because it's that's always been kind of film critics and film historians have always put it down because it's like it's not very factual to the actual events of the actual battle, but in its own way, of all those big battle movies of the 60s, to me, it's like the funnest.
David Hess was a friend of mine. What made you choose one of his songs for the soundtrack?
I've always been a big fan of David Hess. I've never met him. But I was always both a fan of him, in particularly in Last House on the Left, but also his song score. And I've always just really, my friend Eli Roth got me some kind of made-up album of some of the David Hess songs from that movie put together, and it just came to me. It just came to me in editing that would be a really good song to use, and we tried it, and then it kind of was. I thought it was amazing.
What do you personally think about the concept of vengeance, and why have you written so many characters that are driven by revenge? Thank you.
Well, revenge in real life is whatever it is. It probably is sort of foolish, and it's probably very similar to what Hattori Hanzo says about it in Kill Bill. It's like a forest, and it's easy to lose your way and to forget where it is that you came in. But in movies, it's great. There is nothing that affects me at all in movies quite the way it does when a character I want to see gets satisfaction. And leading up to me making movies, for the most part, with a few handful of exceptions, the satisfaction was never good enough. They never got quite the appropriate revenge as far as I was concerned. There was too much of a worrying about morality and too much of worrying about, but on the other hand, we have to think about his soul. On the other hand, what is this actually saying? Fuck all of that.
Jennifer, as far as I know, you were present at the read-through back in April 2014 at the Ace Hotel when they read the Hateful Eight script.
It was just a truly great night in the theater. I mean, Quentin read all of the stage direction, and you also got to watch Quentin direct the actors on stage. And the script is so brilliant. So it just worked beautifully. It's that thing that Quentin was just talking about. If they had read it again the next night, I would have gone again because it was so incredibly entertaining. It flew by in a flash, and it was just like eating a great meal. You just never wanted it to end. I had no idea it would be a movie or anything. I mean, it was like a month or two later, I got the call that he was interested in me for reading for him. So I just truly appreciated it on its own, and it was unlike any theatrical experience I've ever witnessed. It was great night.
You think about the actual Academy situation, this boycott idea of artists like Spike Lee and Will Smith not to participate because we have the second year in a row with no Afro-American actresses nominated, this whole Oscar situation.
We'll rather get lost. Let me just answer this for everybody so we can just move on.
I got my own answer here that I actually think is an interesting conversation.
Yeah, no, I think so too. Kind of don't want to get lost in that woods though. Up here, I'd rather be talking about the Hateful Eight.
Yeah.
If I was nominated, I'd go. Fun things about doing movies is it allows you to live in other places that you probably wouldn't, just go and live for 6 months or 7 months. And that happened when I was doing Inglourious Basterds here, shooting at Babelsberg. And I lived in the Kreuzberg area, and I loved it. I'm looking forward to visiting some of the bars and restaurants that I went to all the time while I was here. And I worked with a magnificent German crew, and I love them. I'm hoping to see a bunch of them tonight at the party. And I'm looking forward to seeing them all again. And so it actually is, so now every time I come, I've been coming to Germany for a bit on my movies before Inglourious Basterds, but now it's a whole different experience when I come to Germany now, because I lived in Germany for a while. I love Berlin. I have my own memories of Berlin. I have my own friendships here. And I have my own escapades that I've had here. And so it's always kind of lovely to come back. I would shoot in Germany again in a heartbeat. I actually loved working with the people at Babelsberg. I loved working with the German crews. And I have a street named after me in Babelsberg Studios, which I'm very proud of.
What do you like in particular about this genre? Is there anything that you like in comparison to the other movies that you've done?
I suppose in that comes a love of horses, and then fantasies of being a rancher and having cattle and stuff like that. All those things went into my makeup, and I can't deny it. I feel very comfortable in that environment. I live half of my life about 3.5 hours from where we shot, and I just feel comfortable in that environment. I've always loved the sound of spurs. It's a nice environment.
You like to sort of do great research on the characters that you portray. What did you do in order to portray Daisy once you got the call from Quentin to sort of dive into that character and dig your teeth in?
Well, Quentin really wanted us to find her together and to find her internally. So not to come at it with any preconceived idea of how she would sound, how she would move, how she would behave, or anything. I mean, all the lines he wanted verbatim, and he demands that of every actor, so you really need to know them backwards and forwards, so you're never hunting for it, because otherwise, and it's true what he says, nothing can really live, nothing can truly be alive or have that magic that happens if you're thinking about what your next line is. But everything else, he wanted it to be just organic, and so that's how we began. And sure, I did, I read things about that period and that kind of thing, but that's not really how we found her. It was something that I can't even describe. A lot of it had to do with Kurt and Sam and so much Quentin. I mean, I feel like Daisy is me and Quentin, like, inside my body in some weird way. And he, asked me to learn the guitar, which is not something I've never played a guitar before, but he had the faith in me that I could do it. And if somebody, if he says to you, I believe if we get you the proper teacher, you will be able to play and you'll learn this. For me, learning this piece became kind of life and death for me as an actor, for my director. And I was scared, but I wasn't going to show that. I did feel vulnerable. I wasn't going to show that. I didn't know that I was going to be able to do it. And all these things are what Daisy feels. She's never going to show John Ruth that she's scared. She's never going to show him that she's vulnerable or afraid that she might die. She's savvy and she's smart and she's internally trying to figure it all out all the time. And having that to learn and to do and not show any of my insecurity about it really in some way put me in Daisy's head frame.
One of the things about Jennifer's performance that's just so wonderful, we talked about it early on. Her character, Daisy Darmagou, has a lot of fireworks in the last scene, to be sure. But she can't do that last scene until she's done every scene in the movie leading up to that last scene, until she's lived Daisy's life from page 1 to that page, to the beginning of that 6th chapter. And to ask anybody to walk into an office and try to do that is just ridiculous. So, but I did, and she came in and she read it, and I was looking for glimmers, some flecks of something that could be there, and she gave it to me in a couple of real interesting, very profound ways. Like one way in particular, I won't go into it, but one way in particular that I found myself judging the other actresses that came in afterwards about how did they handle it, and I didn't like the way anybody else handled it as much as she did. I just had this Jennifer Jason Leigh Film Festival, and I loved it. I was so entertained. I couldn't wait for one of the movies to be over. I couldn't wait for Fast Times at Ridgemont High to be over so I could put in The Hitcher. And I had such a great time, and I didn't need any reminding of what a powerful actress she was, but I got it. And the thing that I liked so much about those movies was the fact that she wasn't just good in them. The movies were about her performance. They were about this big outside performance. With all the ugly things that Daisy says and Daisy does, I never wanted the actress playing Daisy to make her an other. I needed her to find the Daisy inside of her. I needed no judgment from her when it came to Daisy. To judge Daisy, if you're playing Daisy, is death. I can't imagine anybody else playing the role.
That was great. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming out.
Hallo ihr Lieben, hier sind wir zwei wieder. Ja, nach der Pressekonferenz von The Hateful Eight, und ich muss sagen, ich fand es ziemlich witzig.
Fand ich auch.
Ja, es wurden lustige Fragen gestellt, wie man 8 Pferde, die dann irgendwie doch nur 6 waren, sagte Quentin, im Zaum hält. Also da war, glaube ich, ein Pferdekenner unter den Journalisten. Dann hat Quentin ja eine ganz tolle Frage beantwortet zu der aktuellen Situation um die Oscar-Verleihung. Und zwar...
Kurz und knapp, habt ihr sicher gesehen. Vielleicht schreibt doch einfach mal, wie ihr das so gesehen habt.
Genau, also er sagte ja, also wenn ich nominiert wäre, ich gehe hin. Und ja, interessante Einstellung. Ja, es hat echt Spaß gemacht. Oh, wir haben was vergessen. Beinahe hätten wir es vergessen. Wir hatten einen Ehrengast in der letzten Reihe. Und zwar ganz überraschenderweise, wir konnten es selbst kaum glauben, Jogi Löw war da. Der saß mit seinem typischen Schal in der letzten Reihe bei der Pressekonferenz und ist dann so schnell verschwunden. Den haben wir jetzt, glaube ich, nicht ganz im Bild. Aber das war recht ungewöhnlich. Ja, ansonsten würde ich sagen, schaut euch den Film an. The Hateful Eight mit tollen Darstellern, einem verrückten Quentin Tarantino als Regisseur, wie man ihn kennt. Und wie immer, genau. Blutig im Schnee und ich glaube, es lohnt sich. Viel Spaß.
Viel Spaß.